A lot of worse things than a little dabble. I'm going, like I said, I had a real good betting weekend, so I'm feeling good.
All right. Yeah. Whenever you're ready, man. Welcome in. We have one more game to get to before this wild card weekend wraps up. I refuse to call it the super wild card weekend. You've got a Super Bowl. You don't need to drag down that with the first weekend. You want to add another game, that's fine. I don't know how well it's gone necessarily for the 7 seeds, but we have one more game before we can move on to the divisional rounds, and that's Arizona and the Rams in SoFi Stadium. Myself, Ben Rasa, Mike Awesemo is producing. We appreciate you hanging with us here on the OddsShopper channel. Just hit that thumbs up button right away. Make sure you're subscribed right away. And we need you to be part of the show. Just tell us what you're locking up. Whatever you have. Monday Night Football, NBA, big MLK Day. Maybe you like the Coyotes on the puck line. Whatever it is, just tell us to lock it up. Ben Rasa, one more game to get to, my friend.
One more game to get to, and it's a good one. It's a trilogy, just like the Patriots and the Bills. These teams know each other. They've seen each other. They split. So I like that. I think there's less variables. I think you get an indication of where the teams are at. Doesn't mean we know the winner per se. It looked that way in the Buffalo game. Don't expect that tonight. I expect a very competitive game, but I'm feeling pretty good after coming off. We did our playoff pick'em show on Thursday, Eytan, and not too bad. We were on top of most of it.
Yeah, most of it, not all of it. I think you might have been a little ahead of me. I'm going back because I played everything I gave out. Right, we had 6 games. We gave a side/total play or a player prop as well, and it wasn't as great as I would like it to have been. But some of this stuff, look, the biggest thing that I think surprised me more so than anything was that Bills Patriots game going over, mainly because of how easy it was for Buffalo. Now, I was with you the whole time. I love the idea of Buffalo winning that football game, but that total I thought coincided with it. That killed me. And look, I'll go back to my squad here, Ben. Jalen Hurts not scoring a touchdown was also something that especially north of 2-1, and I know that's a risk just with the numbers itself, but I was banking on that one. So those are the 2 that I think got me the most.
Eagles was definitely my most disappointing game. So it was funny. I should have clarified. The sides went really well. My player props were actually pretty poor. Mixon didn't get there. Miles Sanders didn't get there. Kittle they used as a blocker basically exclusively. Just not real opportunities. But from the sides, obviously Kansas City rolled. I think we kind of knew that was going to happen. I really like the Bills. I like the Eagles, who did not get there. Lean Niners didn't ultimately bet that game. And the Bengals were the Bengals. So, but all in all, I worked out in and out of trouble. And I like this game tonight. I've picked on the Cardinals in some spots this year for better or for worse. But let me ask you this before we dive into that game. Do you like when the teams have played a couple times, or would you rather have it be a matchup we haven't seen?
There's a combination of that. And this is a unique one where I like, and I'm using, of course, this game as the benefit to answer your question. I like it when it's not just that, right? If it's just, hey, these 2 teams have played each other twice and there's nothing else that's kind of workable with either of these teams, then it's there. Like there's familiarity with it. But to be honest with you, as much turnover as there may be with the Rams and Cardinals each year, the main guys have been there. And Matthew Stafford, the addition there, they've already seen him twice too. So it's not like there is this brand new element on either side. But if there is something else I can look at and say, well, the Cardinals on the road have covered a shit ton of football games. They're 8-1 against the spread. And for whatever reason, they're playing really good cover, or at least, if not outright winnable football on the road. Rams, on the other hand, haven't really established, at least against the spread, a home field advantage. Now, all of a sudden, that I think those two combos work out where I can look at the Cardinals and say, not only are they exceptional on the road against the spread, but they have a sense of familiarity with this team that they're playing. So I think there needs to be, that's like one thing there, Ben, but there needs to be a catalyst with the fact that they've played each other 2 times as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And obviously we've progressed through the season. I think some of the key headlines that we're going to dive into, of course, the Rams secondary, they're bringing guys back off retirement with the safety position is absolutely gutted. Stafford obviously has got to limit the turnovers. Kyler's first playoff game. There's a lot there, and Akers coming back. So it's not just, we're running it back, same scenarios, same variables. Each one of these games from the first time they played to the second time they played till tonight, different tones, different guys, obviously different contributors. And for me, I like that. I felt good about that with the Bills, and I feel good about that for the game tonight.
Look, I think this is something that I've jumped on right away. 4.5. It's now dropped. It was the first bet that I placed on Super Wild Card Weekend, whatever the hell they want to call this thing, Rasa. And that was the Arizona Cardinals on the road. And everything I'm going to build from this tonight, at least for me, is going to be the Cardinals cover this game. And look, I'm not even building it. I know 3.5, depending on where you'd like and what return, if even on an alternate, if you want to go back up to the 4.5, that's fine. But this is a close football game that the Cardinals are in, a 1-possession game that the Cardinals are in the entire night. And it's either they're up, they're down, maybe they're down 10 and they get a score right after that. But that's my approach to this, which is Arizona has played well enough. Them and the team that's no longer in the playoffs and the Cowboys have played well enough on the road to warrant this type of benefit of the doubt. So that's where I am. I'll take the Cardinals plus 3.5. I'll take the Cardinals. And we talked about this on Thursday. Let me reiterate this. I'll take the Cardinals at a 0.5 point on this against the spread in the first quarter. I'll take the Cardinals to win the first half on the money line. I like Arizona in this game to either be ahead in the first quarter, first half, or at least have to come back in a 1-possession game in the end. I don't see a blowout. I don't see the Rams handling the Cardinals tonight.
I don't know if I see a blowout. I'm definitely not on the same side as you. I lean to the Rams in the game. I haven't bet this. I'm probably going to wait just because it seems like the Cardinals, the side you're on, is taking the money. This is at 4.5. Now it's at 3.5. Total feels about right. 49.5. Both of these teams, particularly when they play each other, aren't immune to points. I think we see that tonight, but I'm with you. I think it's just a very competitive game. There's just a couple of things with the Rams that I trust a little more. But having said that, I already alluded, the Rams secondary is an absolute shambles. Arizona's lost 4 of 5. So both teams have some blemishes. Both teams have some positives. I know you mentioned you like the Cardinals. Do you have a feel on the total at all?
No. And this is the problem is I feel like this game could go either way. I don't know if I can count on just this explosive offense on both sides. Everybody's looking at the receiver core. I know they've been banged up clearly on Arizona, but also with the Rams. You mentioned the Rams secondary being a little banged up. That's going to help elevate Kirk and others on Arizona. So I don't know. The expectation, I think, is that both teams are going to throw. Both teams can throw. Therefore, they're going to be points. I like Arizona staying in this game, hanging in this game. And normally when we talk about that, right, when we talk about having a play on a side, it usually correlates immediately to a total. We did that with the Bills-Patriots game. You love the Bills. I was on that side with you. I thought that correlated nicely, really either side, to the total. I don't have a feel at all. I don't even have a lean on this total because either offense or both offenses can explode. Or would it shock you if we got that quote-unquote narrative of, well, these two teams know each other, slowing it down, and all of a sudden we see a 13-7 halftime score. So, yeah, I want to stay away from the total as far as possible, unless you or one of our sharp community members here has a play on it. I'm going first quarter, half point, money line first half, Arizona with the points on the game. That's what I want to build right here with my play, at least from the start.
And we can do a lot. Again, that's why OddsShopper is so great. And the books that allow you to build these same game parlays, you don't even need me and Matt Kajeski this morning. We got on our VOD, which is available on this very channel. And we were both just like, you know what? it's a tough game. Let's just go to the prop world. And we didn't even pick a side or total, and we still crafted a 3-leg parlay for over 5-1. So you don't have to force it in. If you have a lean on the game, that's great. But if you don't, I still feel pretty good about this game. And I'm going to start getting into it a little more with, I think one of the biggest narratives is the whole situation with Cam Akers. What is he going to give them? Is Sony Michel going to be impacted in any meaningful way? And I think the answer is no. To me, this is Sony Michel's backfield. He's going to get a lot of work tonight. Akers in week 18, he had 5 carries for 3 yards and he had 3 targets. He only played 13 snaps. Obviously, he's busy in those snaps. I don't think it radically changed. And I know you were talking to me before the show about this. I like this prop too. I think Cam Akers under 30.5 rushing yards is something that we can really look to tonight, because I don't see him getting a large workload. He's going to have to be crazy efficient with his, handful of touches.
Yeah. And let me just reiterate, my friend, because you brought it up as far as OddsShopper is concerned. If you like going under Cam Akers rushing yards, you better check OddsShopper, because I'm looking around here right now, and one, as we have it on OddsShopper here, has it at 30.5. Couple of spots here in PA have it down to 26.5. Now, this was 32.5 when I initially placed this, which is what I'm waiting on here at the end, and this was on the 15th. So in 2 days, this thing has dropped in some cases 6 yards, if not just the 2 in which you can find. I am curious, though, where that number is, where that drop dead number is for you, where you would no longer go under. But where it is right now, I got in at 32.5. 30.5 is still fine by all means for me. And I'm with you. It was one of the biggest plays that OddsShopper loved. As soon as the player props were up there, I put that in with 3 other OddsShopper plays over the weekend. They all hit. So I'm waiting for Akers under 32.5. I am emotionally and physically and fiscally invested in this prop hitting, my friend. So yes, I'm with you on that under 32.5.
Yeah, I mean, if you could find that, obviously you're betting it. Even at 30.5, I'm okay. If you only have 26.5 now, I'd probably pass. I think that's the beauty of OddsShopper. You don't have to play every line. If you miss it, you miss it. That's not a big deal. You move on to some of these other spots. And again, in this game, I think there's some serious edges to have. And the other one, I'm just going to bounce around a little. Christian Kirk. This is a guy that, again, I'm not, a super prominent name. Obviously, he's going to be a factor. But I think the big thing, everyone rightfully so, is always worried about Jalen Ramsey. Who is Jalen Ramsey going to take out? What's he going to do? Well, he's an outside corner. Wesley, AJ Green, I think they draw him more often than not. Christian Kirk operates a lot in the slot and whatnot. He's more of a home run threat. Burner, can get behind defenses, and the secondary is absolutely dismantled. I feel pretty good about Christian Kirk's over tonight in the secondary against this team. It's at 50.5 out there. We haven't projected north of 61. I think that's a go for me as well.
So I wonder, and we can take advantage, of course, of the same game, single game, one game, however it's described here, parlay, because while that number is low, especially as you laid out, first off, let me just say, I love that 50.5. I think that's a great opportunity to jump in. I would be surprised if it's not higher by kick, but maybe I'm missing something here. How is Rondale Moore only 16.5? That seems super low. I'd almost want to put the two of them together, and I could get plus 263 back on a nice Moore Kirk same game parlay over.
So yeah, Rondale Moore, obviously the volume is not nearly as secure with a guy like that, but it's a pretty pedestrian line. And he's got an ankle.
Who's a threat. Oh, so it's the ankle injury you think that's hampering him?
I think it's probably a multitude of things. Maybe I missed it, and if we got some Cardinals fans in chat, you guys can tell me that I just don't know what I'm talking about. This Antoine Wesley guy, I don't even know who this guy is. He came out of nowhere, and to me, it kind of feels like he took some of Rondale Moore's opportunities. I know they don't operate in the exact same position, but you've already got Green, and I know Hopkins isn't there, but to me, Rondale Moore really hasn't carved out a defined role, and that's why we see the prop where it is.
Look, if that's the case, and this is a very narrow window or maybe middle ground that you have to work with, probably window, whatever the term would be here. But OddsShopper has Wesley projected for 27 receiving yards, and look, that's a smash on his over. So you're going to get a positive return on Wesley's receiving yards going over. But OddsShopper also has him only projected for about 2.2 receptions. So the idea here is, to your point, this is like the new Rondale Moore, where 2 receptions should be enough to get you over 23.5. But again, that's kind of what I was thinking with Rondale Moore, where if I can get 2 grabs from Moore, that should definitely get me over 16.5. But now looking at it here, taking the risk on both players, I'd rather, if all things are equal from a risk standpoint, I'd rather get plus 102 back as opposed to lay 110.
Yeah, if you think all things are equal, absolutely. I think,
but aren't they kind of?
I mean, to me, the unknowns on the outside are a little murkier because of Ramsey and just because of the opportunity and target share that these guys have. I think that Christian Kirk has a more defined role. He's a guy that, you know, he doesn't need that much either. He could get there on 1 or 2 catches in an outlier situation. Past 5 games, he's had a catch of 26 yards or longer in 4 of them, 2 catches over 40 yards, a 35-yarder. This guy, when he gets going, he gets going. And the target share is not great, but it's a hell of a lot better than a guy like Rondale Moore. So I think if you're building aggressive parlays and you want to sprinkle in a Wesley or a Moore, particularly if you like Kyler, I get it. I think Christian Kirk stands alone while those other guys are pieces of larger parlays.
OddsShopper loves Green going over here by 13 yards. But I don't know. There's a lot of volatility. If there's one thing constant here that I would use on the same level as what you brought up with Kirk, I don't look 103.5. Anything below 110 is low for Cooper Kupp. I mean, at this point, why? Look, we see this a lot in the playoffs. Either it's instinct or it's necessity, but teams try every now and again to branch out and do crazier stuff and whack, and they always come back to what they know. They always come back to what got them there, and that's why we'll get to Kyler Murray running the football in a second here. But Cooper Kupp, one of 2 things I think are going to happen here. Either the Cardinals are going to put everything they possibly can into stopping Cooper Kupp, which, Ben, we've seen multiple teams do all year to a failure, or they may try the opposite, which is shut everybody else down and let Kupp do his thing, and the old star mentality in the NBA. That guy drops 50, but nobody else does anything. Either way, I would definitely look at Cooper Kupp because it's below 109 in that range at 103.5 where you can get over, and say that there's really only a blowout, which I don't see, of course, keeping Kupp from getting 9, possibly 10 receptions.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper Kupp is seemingly matchup proof. He has an absolutely ridiculous target share. He's extremely consistent, which is important for props. So there's a big difference. And this is more of an evergreen topic. And we talk about these things on the OddsShopper channel. So if you are new, if you're just stopping in and you like this kind of stuff, hit that subscribe button. Come join the community. Obviously, it's totally free. No reason not to get notified when we've got some videos. But Cooper Kupp is the type of guy, if you're betting something like this, where it's basically, you know, you bet 1 to win 1 for simplistic terms, you want that consistency. And the guy he's been over 90, let's say, going all the way back to week 5. He's had 92 or more yards receiving in every single game. He's crossed the century mark in 5 of 6. It's just been fantastic for him. So I don't think that the Cardinals have the personnel to slow him, because who does at this point?
It's true. It's going to be, and again, it's similar to what I would look at with Murray here, but this is one of these things. You said matchup proof. I love that term. This is one of these things where we see it a lot of times in sports, and the NFL too, where a team knows exactly what's coming, and they may try and do everything they possibly can to stop it, and they won't. And look, we have an entire season's worth. This is not week 3, right? Mm-hmm. Where Kupp had 2 games and now we're like, oh my God, this guy's insane. It's a breakthrough. No. This is an entire season of dominating. So it's hard for me to kind of move away from that by any means. I wanted to get your thoughts on Kyler Murray. This is moving up as expected. It was a little bit lower earlier, but depending on where you have it, you kind of high 30s here. for Kyler Murray, 38.5. It looks like more on an average for his rushing yards. And the numbers, as far as game logs and as far as what we've seen on average, I'll put that secondary, Ben, because even if you think that the Cardinals are going to be playing from behind for a little bit, this is the softer defense in which the Cardinals are eventually going to have to move the football. But again, there's going to be a sense of desperation. There's going to be a sense of you have to move the football. Now, if they're up big, that's different. But I don't see Murray just standing back there forcing passes if they need 10 yards, if they need 12 yards, and there's a soft defense in front of him, or simply if guys are getting locked up and he can maybe put some pressure on the defense by running.
So yeah, it's very, very interesting, and it's going to be a popular prop, but I think it's warranted. I know Gary and Chet just mentioned it. A couple of different things. One, they have played twice, and even early in the year, Kyler was pretty active. He had 39 yards rushing in the first matchup. Then he had 61 yards rushing in the second matchup. I think the pressure that Aaron Donald in particular forces on these guys, it actually helps because Kyler's naturally flushed out of the pocket. Now they're going to try to create, you hear all these terms, create the bubble, don't, keep them in there. It's just not that easy. And in the playoffs, we've seen Josh Allen, we saw Mahomes last night. These guys are more eager and willing to scramble because you can't be fooling around in games like this. And then the last thing I'll say, and I don't know why this is the case. So early in the year, weeks 1 through 8, Kyler was pretty pedestrian on the ground. I don't know why he wasn't running. Then he got hurt. He came back in week 13, and since then he's been really active in the ground. He's got 35 or more yards rushing in 5 of the 6 games, including ones that are flirting north of 50 yards. So it seems like when he came back from injury, ironically, he was actually more eager to run, and I don't know why that wouldn't continue tonight.
Yeah, I think looking at what's changed, maybe it's the necessity, maybe it's just playing poorly at home or getting up or taking advantage of defenses that are trying. Yeah, not having a receiver or two out there consistently, right, and making up for it, which, again, we're going to see some of that again tonight. So definitely taking advantage of that. That parlay by Gary, by the way, I just built it here. It's not terrible as far as what we've talked about here. And just to remind everybody, it's the Michelle anytime touchdown, Cooper Kupp over receiving yards, which I brought up that you liked. Kyler Murray over 38.5 rushing yards. And then the one that we hadn't talked about was Zach Ertz over 53.5. But I like both tight ends actually tonight to be involved in the game plans.
Yeah, I mean, I have no pushback on that parlay. If I had to bet all 4 of those, I would be on the side that Chad is leaning in all of them. I'm not against any of those plays. They're not all going to make my card, but that doesn't mean, and they're all pulling the same way. You probably want a pretty high up and down type game. And I think Sony Michel is very live to score, certainly Cooper Kupp. And you've got Kyler. It's interesting, to me, the one guy we haven't really talked about is Stafford. And if Cooper Kupp really does go north of 100 yards, well, Stafford's passing yards prop is 278-ish. So we've just chopped off 100 yards right there. I mean, I think he's live to cross 300 tonight. I know he hasn't been great, the turnovers, but to me in this game, whether they're winning or losing, Stafford's going to have a lot of opportunities. No weather, of course. I like the Stafford over passing yards a little bit.
I love it. And I think there's a correlation to that. And it's unfortunate because I don't think many places will allow you to same game parlay the two.
No,
but
can't do that.
Can't do what?
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can put like those two together.
What, the Stafford over and
Kupp? I'm not sure if books will let you do that. Maybe they will.
Well, yeah, you can do that.
Oh, well, don't listen to me then.
Well, no, I mean, you may not. Here's the thing. You're getting, so the point in that is you can do it. You're just not going to get a great return. They're both -10. You're getting a plus 162 return on that same game parlay because they're both heavily correlated.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to do, and which I can't, because I think you talk about correlation here. Let's look at this, how you just built this up. I think this is amazing, Ben. And again, if you're hanging with us, please hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed, of course, to the OddsShopper channel. We appreciate all of your suggestions as we talk about parlays to straight plays you have. Lock it up. We're going to get to that in a minute before we get out of here. So we want yours as well. I saw Kevin Bloomfield not only locking up the St. Joe's money line today on the hardwood, but also getting ahead on the Packers minus 5.5. We had Gary's parlay. So anything you have out here, please. Chris, I know Dan's in the house, so let's do it. I know Dan has a first round or quarter parlay for us or some play in the NBA. What I want to do, though, is, and I can't correlate it from the same game. I may just play these individually, which is fine. I'll probably have to lay minus 120 or so, which is not the end of the world. But Cooper Kupp over receiving yards, absolutely, to Ben Ross's point, means Matthew Stafford over passing yards, means Matthew Stafford throwing the football, means Matthew Stafford's going to throw an interception. So that's what I want to take advantage of. The more he throws, the more chance we have of him throwing the pick. It's not going to be the game-ending interception, anything along those lines, but I don't trust he can have a flawless 45-plus attempt day by any means. A defense against the Cardinals or not, that's what I would like to take advantage of as you open up the door with that over passing yards.
I mean, yeah, listen, I would love to speak to why I think Stafford. I mean, I think we all know he's under the most pressure, and everyone's been saying that, and it's true. Why he can play a clean game, but the odds don't favor it. There's no doubt about it. He's thrown 7 interceptions in his last 3 games. He's thrown a pick in the majority of games this year. So I don't know what that is. I don't know why he's doing that. Obviously, his goal tonight is going to be to not turn the ball over. But it seems like for one reason or another that Matthew Stafford is giving the team opportunities. So I can't really push back against that. I'm sure it's going to be a pretty popular choice tonight, just given what he's done in these games. So I get it. He didn't throw a pick in the last game against Arizona. I don't think that's overly predictive. I don't really care about any of that. I do think Stafford, for better or worse, is going to have to make plays tonight. And that probably comes with a lot of good plays and maybe a couple of not so good ones.
Yeah, look, Murray throwing a pick is going to be shaded towards the no, of course, and Stafford a little bit. I can get it at minus 122. It's not a terrible bet. You mentioned the picks that he's thrown in 3 straight and interception in 4 straight. He takes some chances. He has it in him. He just has it in him. It doesn't mean he's a bad, terrible quarterback, etc. I think there's something with that by all means. All right, let me just scour the chat here. Shelton, Bengals +4. Oof. Thoughts? He's locking up Bengals +4. We got a couple of lock it ups to get to in the chat before us.
Yeah, I mean, 4 is a good number. 4 is a good number. If you can get 4, I would do it. I don't really have a feel in the game. I haven't broke down the playoff games. That'll start tomorrow after this game. So 4 is a good number, though. I see 3.5 on my screen and it's juice. So if you're grabbing 4, that's probably the move to do it right now.
But do you actually like Cincinnati in that game to hang? No. So why take what's the difference at that point?
Well, just because, I fully acknowledge it's just a game of numbers. Like, what I think is irrelevant. I in the NFL, the books are very, very efficient. So if you told me that I could take any team getting an extra point from the closing line, I would do it. And I have a feeling the way it's going that Cincinnati might be at 3 soon enough.
Sure, but that's not always an indication of victory. That could be just money movement, right?
For sure. It's just, just closing line value is very, very important. I know it can be frustrating. Believe me, if you look at my college basketball year, it's been extremely frustrating. I've been beating these closing lines. I'm getting crushed on some of them, but you want to do that. It doesn't mean, for what it's worth, it's Monday, that the Bengals are suddenly going to take all this money. It's just, if you do like the Bengals, and I think that's the point you're making, early in the week, then maybe you look at it. If you like the Titans, obviously you're not going to say, let me grab this even though I don't like it. So I get where you're going there. I have not bet that game, obviously, but it's going to be fascinating because I don't think of the Titans as the number 1 seed, but they are. It's kind of a weird situation.
All right, let's look at 2 quick ones here before we lock it up. Methyl Ethel with an interesting same game parlay. Kupp, Stafford, yardage overs, and more yardage over added with the Ertz anytime TD. I do like Ertz anytime TD for sure.
Yeah, again, I mean, there you're building for some type of just absolutely wild back and forth shootout. And that is very possible in a game like this. They've played twice. Both games had an up and down nature to them. If Stafford and Kupp get going, it's going to force Kyler to have to make some plays. And then that's where, the Rams' thin secondary could be exposed. Ertz, guys on the inside. Rondell doesn't need a ton. So I get it. Again, I think these are all same game parlays that you can build towards and be effective tonight.
Last one from Dan. We knew we needed a first quarter ATS play here. I actually have one that I'll give you that I'm locking up for an island game. Although it's too late, actually. So I can tell you whether or not that bet. I can tell you now in hindsight if that thing hit. All right, Dan. Miami minus a half point in the first quarter. Toronto's first quarter defense is bad. Bam might play. How about that? Heat laying a half point in the first quarter.
I trust Dan. I have not looked at that game. I know MLK Day's got a multitude of sports during the day. So it's a busy one. But you know what? Little edges like that. Those are things like that. If you do your due diligence, you can uncover soft lines, first quarter line, things like that, where there's all, liquidity and other things. That's a different issue for a different time. But if you find a little edge like that, you can exploit it. And that's something that OddsShopper, how many times have we said it, Eytan? If nothing else, it saves you so much time because it cuts through all that work for you. You go to oddshopper.com, you sort by ROI, and immediately you at least have the insight into Alex and the team's projections. And that is such a time saver that I use every single day.
So we're on our way out of here. We always lock it up. We appreciate all you locking up plays for us. And Ben will tell you one more time when we get out of here about all the great things that are happening here on channel. So please, all we ask in return is that you hit that thumbs up button, you're subscribed here, and that you're interactive. You're part of this community. That island game was the Hornets' first quarter because they had that brutal loss from against the Magic. They were bouncing back. Knicks a little smelling themselves a little bit. Looks like that's going to hit. So that was the one I was going to lock up, but I didn't even have my time right here because we were on the air as a result of it. All right, so let me start. You can end here. Lock it up. We have tons of NFL plays. You can take your pick from the Akers under 32.5. I really like the same game parlay that Ben and I built. His Kirk over 50.5 receiving yards. My Cup over 103.5. That gets us at plus 269. So all of those are there. But let me do this. For my Philadelphia people, which may only be Mike Awesemo out there, all right? I don't know. Let me give you something positive here. You've got about 50 minutes or so to place this wager. Seth Curry, 4+ made threes, plus 340. Lock it up. That's a full unit play. The man is shooting the basketball exceptionally well. A healthy Sixers squad means more effort to get Curry the ball. We all on OddsShopper have Embiid a little bit low as far as a point productivity. And when he dips, Curry's going to get more shots on the outside. So lock it up. 4+ threes for Curry, plus 340 on the return.
Okay. Little hometown loving. I like that. I had no problem. Okay.
We need something positive here on a Monday in Philly, man. Ethel, Shelton, Bloomfield, a bunch of Philly people. I stand corrected. I apologize.
We got, like I said, busy day of sports, fun day. All right. Two things. Here we go. My favorite prop tonight is Christian Kirk over 50.5 receiving yards. I think he's going to be very, very busy. The line is moving up. You want to hit it. If you like it, time is now when you watch this. Also, if you could hit that like button, if you're enjoying this, and as I always do, we're going to have a little fun on a holiday. I got to lock it up. That is off the reservation. I haven't been good with these, but we're going to turn it today.
Is this a college team that's taking on a made-up team?
A team that I've been betting a lot, and they honestly have not been as good as I thought they would be, but this is a team that's really dangerous in a conference that nobody knows about.
Can I guess?
Please. You get one guess. If you get this, that would be truly absurd.
Merrimack.
No, but it's actually real close. It's that conference, actually. This team plays Merrimack in the next game. It's Bryant. Bryant Bulldogs.
I was close.
Today. You were a lot closer than I thought. So Bryant is 8.5 point favorite today at home. They play St. Francis of Pennsylvania. Not that it really matters. There's another St. Francis of Brooklyn. They're both equally horrendous. Bryant is a team super fast tempo, and the total in this game is 150.5. So it's going to be up and down. Bryant is a senior-laden, explosive, experienced team. In the last game against Mount St. Mary's, they led from start to finish. They were 8-point favorite. They won by 7. lost at the nose. They just kind of been running poor around the spread. They were at home there. They're on a homestand. They're staying at home. St. Francis comes to their gym today. St. Francis 1-4 in the conference. Bryant 4-1. I think this one just gets out of hand. If they try to play up tempo, it's going to get out of hand. I will lay the 8.5 with Bryant. Haven't been good to me lately, but I'm going to stick with this team all year.
Beautiful. I just locked it up. Just tailed Ben. Tail him as well. Tweet him
Bryant,
at JazzRaz DFS. That's Shanda Show for me. Thanks to Mike Awesemo for producing. Really, thanks to you all out there as well. We'll see you Thursday. Have a great rest of the week. Thumbs up, subscribe, and all of the content is here available for you on the OddsShopper channel. Thank you.